very niche area.
Definitely.
I've worked with you before, and is it right to say you have a special emphasis on Muslim women?
Well, yes, Farina, definitely, because I think it's quite obvious and evident that I am a Muslim myself, and because of that, I realized that it's a community that I know and I understand. So I really wanted to work with it's really important in this line of work that you have an element of trust and understanding, and that is immediately established when I've come across so many Muslims who say, wow, finally a Muslim is doing this work, because the need has been there for so long, and people just haven't had anyone to go to. They haven't had anyone to reach out to. So the just making this work available has been part of the challenge for me, because I'm one of the first few who are actually out there. So raising awareness, letting people know that you can actually move forward, and also explaining how it works within the realms of Islam.
Now I want to go into the kind of work we do, but before we do that, tell us a little bit about a hypnotherapy program that you've developed to help women lose weight, because we're going to listen to a little bit of it, but just tell us a little bit before.
It's called Lose Weight Now, and I designed it so that anyone can use it in the comfort of their own home. It's a 20-minute audio, which basically you can just put on at any time of day. You do not put it on when you're driving, though. You have to be kind of relaxed and be able to close your eyes. And what it really helps you to do is to visualize a future of better health, more vitality, and imagining that goal actually taking place.
Okay, well, let's have a listen to Sayeda's audio hypnotherapy program.
Your unconscious mind has a blueprint of your perfect health. Invite your unconscious mind to be your advisor and guide you to what this weight is. And your unconscious mind advises you in the best and most appropriate way for you. Imagine you're at your ideal weight now. Today's the day that you are achieving your goal. Doesn't it feel good that this date has arrived? Notice how wonderful your clothes are feeling on your body. Notice how your confidence is rising, and notice how safe you are feeling now. Notice how much you are enjoying your health, your weight, how your body feels. Remember, you are comfortable, safe, and confident now.
How did you come up with this CD program?
Well, I wrote it. I wrote it with the idea, that a lot of people struggle with weight loss, because what actually tends to happen is they go on the diets, they run they do the programs, but then they fall back into the old patterns, because they're working on a physical conscious level, but they're actually deep down not really in tune with or aligned with that goal of actually releasing that weight. And also a lot of people hold weight emotionally. So this program, I mean, if you hear the whole thing, it's really designed in a holistic way, and it's very, very safe, because it's actually using your own mind to help you come up with your own individual goal, your own timeline, and you can visualize yourself at the weight that you want to be. So it's using the ability of imagination, which we all have, to work with you. So it's mind working with body, and it actually invites you to still do all the it's not against any of the weight loss programs or anything out there, but it's actually going to work in conjunction with them. Because if you go into if you do a calorie control program, let's say you go to Weight Watchers or whatever, they will do the conscious handling. They'll even teach you what kinds of meals to eat and all of that, but you still need to be able to believe that you can have that, that it's possible for you. So this is going to work in conjunction with any other program.
What is the success rate? I mean, what do your clients say?
Well, one of my clients has lost over half a stone of weight using this. A few others have reported, it really depends on if they're using it or not, but most people who have used it have said that it's really worked well for them. In the Muslim community, I've noticed that is definitely something that's people are looking for. I mean, lots of people have come to me and said that they were actually waiting to find somebody who was Muslim, and it really worked.
Problems, isn't it? Often there are family pressures and cultural pressures that affect.
And it really helps when you can understand that, because
now, do women come to you with more holistic problems?
Yeah, I work a lot with self-esteem, depression, and relationships. That's really where I've been doing a lot of the work.
Because it's a serious problem.
It is very
emotional
serious.
and mental health issues are a major problem. So how do you work with a woman or whoever it is that you're working with to sort through these issues? Where do you even begin?
Well, it really depends on what's the most urgent for them. I mean, I've had women who've been in marriages that are troubled, and they're either looking for to figure out whether they want to leave or they want to stay. So we first begin with just helping them to calm down, and I have to sort of work with them at the pace that they're ready to go at, and divorce is a trauma, but it's unlike the kind of trauma that Pam works with. I wouldn't imagine going into anything like that, and I say that I'm not a trauma counselor. But having said that, I've worked with a lot of women who are, suffering from marital issues or have been through divorce.
Would it be right to call this chronic trauma? I mean, what is the word for this ongoing, underlying,
well, I mean, I think the divorce is more in terms of a crisis rather than
okay, so that's maybe that's the technical term for it. But there are a lot of people who go through severe emotional crisis and they are depressed. I've even worked with people who've been on antidepressants, and they are wanting to get off them, but they're not really sure how. And they're kind of living a life at a certain level where they're a bit numb, and they really want to move on and create something better.
Now, in the intro, I mentioned the case of an individual, and there are many cases like this where he really needed help. He'd lost a child, he'd just come out of a relationship, and he was about to blow his brains out, as he told his GP. And there was a 2-year waiting list to see a psychiatrist. And religion that so many people of faith are needing help.
I wouldn't call it a failure of religion. I think at least I'm a practicing Muslim, and I've had coaching myself, and I work with a lot of Muslims. I would say it's more of a compliment. I wouldn't say it's a failure at all, because we live in a world where challenges are just constantly growing, and they're changing all the time. We're living in a world where, people are talking about cloning other beings, and people are just exposed to so much more at a younger age. And, the guidance is there in religion, but you need to be able to talk to people. How do I deal with day-to-day life? How do I deal with all these opposing influences? And that's what I found, that, when people come to coaching, they work within the umbrella of Islam. So, we understand that, you work with Islamic principles, but you apply them to your own life. So it's like looking at, okay, if a woman is talking about going out to work and she wears hijab, then she needs to explore avenues that will help her to, work in a place where she can wear hijab. So we explore opportunities. I find that very common. Like, they don't want to be unhealthy, they don't want to be divorced, they don't want to be, single at 38 or 40. They know that they don't want to be not getting along with extended family or all of that. And sometimes it's about really helping people to shift their focus very, very gently. And so it really is about sitting with them where they are at and not judging them, because family and all of these society pressures, as you mentioned, they are actually, a lot of people say, well, I have my friends and I have my family to talk to, which is all well and good, but they have a vested interest, and they often don't let us make our own decisions.
But life coaching, I don't know if life coaching, I mean, without making specific reference to your work, but, life coaches may have a vested interest. The more troubled you are, the more you're going to come for treatment.
That's why it's so important to pick somebody who is well qualified, to have a chat with them ahead of time, to really, first of all, design the teamwork, design how it's going to be. And people should ask questions when they come to a coach. How many sessions might it take me? Have you worked with somebody in my situation before? What are your qualifications? And somebody honestly, if a coach is really honest, they'll say, saying, well, some things I don't know. Like, I don't know how many sessions it's going to take because it really depends on how much work you do. It is your life and you're responsible for it, right? So if you're really honest, I mean, you won't be just selling them lots of big packages, or, you know, transform your life in 3 days or 1 week, and, you know, you're going to have, because that is a pitfall, you know. And like somebody said, like, I was watching this and I was quite amused because somebody actually came to me and said, what swimming pool do you work at?
I like
yeah, I like to too. They're like, well, what's swimming pool? So there are a lot of
as
things.
long as you're not a bus that takes people around the city.
That was quite an interesting one. But it's really, you know, a lot of people don't know the differences between psychotherapy, psychiatry, counseling. It's really, you know, a lot of people don't even know what their patterns are. And, you know, coaching in that same way, a skilled coach will be able to point out the patterns, will be able to help people to become objective about what's going on and to, you know, just step back a little bit. Because when you're in that emotional state, you
and
become
it's all
much
in
more,
your head.
Yeah, and you can have like tunnel vision. You can
Yeah.
be so focused on just the problem, you really can't see how, you know, how the bigger picture will be.
Absolutely, and I'd say to anyone at home who's slightly confused, and it's understandable that you're confused, you know, as you said, you know, ask questions, but I think also the other thing that's really, really interesting here is that you're going to have a sense of what's really, really important to you. And what's interesting is that some people are going to want healing through the spirit, some people are going to want healing through the body. A very, very deep work in terms of body may well work for some people through nutrition. So we all have different things
Or
that
a
will work for us,
combination.
or a combination.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like you know, people start off in one direction
Absolutely.
and then they do something else. Like I've done that myself. I've had healing and homeopathy and coaching, you know, in my life. And at different times, different things were relevant. And sometimes I was doing more than one thing. But sometimes people get confused. They try one session of this, they try one session of that. And, you know, it's important to remember that these things are a bit of a journey. So you have to have that little bit of patience and just stick it through for a little bit to see what you're actually getting as well.
Absolutely, and I think for you know the exciting thing is that isn't it wonderful that we're all sat here right next to each other. There's more and more people who are working jointly. I work with people who are hypnotherapists, I know people who are counsellors.
You prompt someone to go and confront his or her family that they've not spoken to in years.
And, you know, actually there are courses out there that people can go to, and that's the danger. You know, they go into this public realm.
Well, I was going to ask you because for years I've been pressured into going for, say, landmark courses.
I was just going to bring that one up.
Where, you know, it's almost, I'm sorry, but it's almost cultish because my friends are so insistent.
And I've been there for, you know, I've been in that program. I've done a lot of the courses. I've coached, before I had the distinction of life coaching, I've worked with people on that program in terms of, you know, coaching in their distinctions. And I realize now how much is missing. And that's exactly what I try now to help people to get a result that is ecological or holistic, in the sense that they look at the impact. Let's say, you know, they go and they confront their spouse about something. They need to, first of all, keep that into account. How are they going to communicate their message? What is it that they want to communicate?
Open up other
exactly,
set
and
of,
you could possibly end up hurting people or breaking relationships when you actually didn't want that. And if you're not actually prepared, you know, it doesn't really work. I mean, lots of people can say, oh, you know, just go and set the resolutions, set the goals. But it's really not that simple, because you have to look at the impact those goals are going to have on other people around you.
I think you're right, and I think the magical thing about if you get a good coach is that what coaching is all about is giving you space exactly to imagine what your futures might be, so that people
exploring
can
it
explore
ahead of time. So I will sit down with coaches. I mean, I will sit down with my clients as a coach and help them to explore all the avenues. I mean, of course, some things are uncertain. You can't always predict what another person is going to say, or you can't always predict the future. And that's why we look at, okay, what's in your control in this situation, what's not in your control, what can you influence, and work on
We've been through that process and are struggling to cope with everything that is unraveled.
You know what happens for people when they go to Landmark? Because I've been a part of that process. I have to say that because I've been involved with them, I was for over a year. I kind of know. Then they go into seminars. And I don't know if you did the whole seminar.
To follow up.
There's a series of 6 seminars that, you know, there's a series of 10 sessions of one seminar. But the problem there is that people get really attached to that dynamic, and they begin to think that those distinctions are what life is for everyone, and it isn't. So it's almost like you have a group that's inside and then one that's
it
outside.
fosters a certain dependency,
Yes,
I think,
it does.
and it's in their interest to do that. And
I'm very now against that kind of approach. So
it sucks you in.
And I think the
and
interesting
people
thing
are all
about
unique, you know.
absolutely, and I think the interesting thing about this is that whatever it is that somebody goes to, whether they go to a coach, counsellor,
Yeah.
whatever, it should be about making that person independent, not
Yes,
dependent
exactly.
on the professional that you're seeing. How is it that you can make this person stand a new profession?
Yes, but
They
I would
have
go with the
different accrediting.
ICF. I mean,
What is the ICF?
ICF is the International Coach Federation. It's a worldwide body that accredits coaching standards and accredits also coaching programs. So if there are people out there who want to train as a coach, I would recommend that they look for a proper ICF accredited program, because I've done a non-ICF accredited program and then I've done one that is, and I've also done a lot of NLP training. And the other thing I would also recommend is like look on the ICF website, or also if you are just looking around, lots of coaches work on the phone like I do as well. So I've worked with clients, you know, from other countries and other cities as well. But it's really important to have a chat with them first.
Definitely have a chat with them and ask friends of people who've had good ones.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate it. I think this is going to be a really helpful program for our audience. You've been watching Nexus, the Religious and Cultural Dialogue program. We've been discussing the growing industry in self-development and life coaching. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today, but if you want to get in touch with any of our guests or you have a burning comment to make, do email us on nexus@presstv.co.uk and we'll direct you to the relevant people. You can watch Nexus on Saturdays at 14:05 GMT and Tuesdays at 14:05 GMT. You will also find archives of previous episodes at presstv.co.uk. Thank you for watching.